Our selection today is Hold On.
The oracles of the UCI. 1 Peter chapter 4, verses 7 through 11. But the end of all things is at hand. Be you therefore sober, and watch unto prayer. And above all things have fervent love among yourselves, for love shall cover the multitude of sins. Use hospitality one to another without grudging. As every man has received the gift, even so minister the same one to another, as good stewards of the manifold grace of Elohim. If any man speak, let him speak as the oracles of Elohim. If any man minister, let him do it as of the ability which Elohim gives, that Elohim in all things may be glorified through Yahshua the Mashiach, to whom be praise and dominion forever and ever. Amen. Ephesians chapter 4, verses 29 through chapter 5 and verse 4. Let no corrupt communication proceed out of your mouth, but that which is good to the use of edifying, that it may minister grace unto the hearers. And grieve not the Holy Spirit of Elohim, whereby you are sealed until the day of redemption. Let all bitterness and wrath and anger and clamor and evil speaking be put away from you with all malice. And be you kind one to another, tender-hearted, forgiving one another, even as Elohim for Yahshua's sake has forgiven you. Be you therefore followers of Elohim, as dear children, and walk in love, as the Mashiach also have loved us, and has given himself for us an offering and sacrifice to Elohim for a sweet-smelling savor. But fornication and all uncleanness or covetousness, let it not be once named among you as become saints, neither filthiness, nor foolish talking, nor jesting, which are not convenient, but rather given of thanks. Ecclesiastes chapter 5, verses 1 and 2. Keep your foot when you go to the house of Elohim, and be more ready to hear than to give the sacrifice of fools, for they consider not that they do evil. Be not rash with your mouth, and let not your heart be hasty to utter anything before Elohim. For Elohim is in heaven, and you upon earth, therefore let your words be few. Exodus chapter 23, verses 20 and 21. Behold, I send an angel before you, to keep you in the way, and to bring you into the place which I have prepared. Beware of him, and obey his voice. Provoke him not, for he will not pardon your transgressions, for my name is in him. Revelations chapter 3, verses 20 through 22. Behold, I stand at the door and knock. If any man hear my voice and open the door, I will come in to him and will sup with him, and he with me. To him that overcomes will I grant to sit with me in my throne, even as I have also overcame and am sat down with my Father in his throne. He that has an ear, let him hear what the Spirit says unto the churches.
All right, Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom.
Which is peace on Yahweh's holy Sabbath day. Welcome to another holy convocation that Yahweh has enjoined unto us here in Stone Mountain, Georgia. As we heard on the opening song, discussing the holding on. When you deal with the wicked are rewarded for their dealings immediately. They are allowed to prosper, and what ends up happening is a lot of times it gives people who are trying to do right, it ends up giving us this thought where maybe we should stop trying to do right when you look at how the wicked prosper. Even if you just look at this nation, people brag about America and the things that America has been able to do, but you have to consider her beginnings. I mean, she began by coming to a land, killing everybody that she found, taking the land from those people, and then going and finding some other people to build it for free. And now she is celebrated as the most powerful country in the world, even though her beginnings were absolutely foul. But what we have to understand is there's a time and a duration that Yahweh will allow some things to go on, and that gets confusing to us. But what we have to understand is Yahweh is allowing certain things to go on because he has multiple situations happening at the same time. So while you're dealing with the prospering of this nation, you're also dealing with the righteous judgment of his people Israel. So he will allow the wicked to prosper, to deal with you because of our disobedience against him. But then when it's our time, he's going to take all of those things from the wicked. He's going to restore us the things that were taken away from us. But all of that has to happen in due time. And I must admit, sometimes it is very difficult to wait that time, but we got to do it. We're going to begin today's sermon in the book of Judges, Judges chapter 1. Judges chapter 1, and we're going to read verses 1 through 7. And for those that are in the media room, I think this first one was left off the list. So number 1 is going to be Judges chapter 1, verses 1 through 7.
Now after the death of Yahshua, it came to pass that the children of Israel asked Yahweh, saying, who shall go up for us against the Canaanites first, to fight against them?
Now, you know, even in dealing with just the name of Yahshua, this is the one who physically came after Moses. And spiritually, he was the one that came after Moses. So with them changing the name to Jesus, a lot of things didn't make sense. If they had just left it alone, spiritually, it would have made sense on both levels. There's a physical one. So when you deal with Joshua, if they would have actually so-called tried to translate his name, that is what it would have been, Joshua. But they, of course, wanted to glorify the heathen god Zeus. So by making that Jesus, later Jesus, it really threw off the order that Yahweh had. So Yahshua is coming directly after Moshe, and then you have what he's saying, there's going to be one after me. There's going to be another prophet, and you have to consider spiritually what happened with Moshe. He was able to deal with Yahweh face to face to the point where he starts to glow. The people are afraid of him. Even when you read about the burial of Moshe, he didn't die like everybody else. He told him to go up on the mountain. His sight was still good. His strength was still good. We're talking about an old man that can still see 20/20. I ain't got 20/20 now. So he told him, just go and walk up the mountain. Just walk. I'm going to tell you where you're going to be buried. But then we read in the New Testament, when we see Elijah, we see Moshe there. So we know that Yahweh then took him. That's why he wouldn't, give all of that information. He didn't tell Israel. He didn't even tell Moshe what he was going to do. Just go die. He didn't find out until he got over the hill. Wait a minute, I ain't dying. So that's something that we have to consider. So just that little change of them changing and putting in the name of Jesus. And this is how you know, one of the ways you know it was a change, that there are two instances, at least two instances in the New Testament where they saw Joshua or Yahshua, what they would have seen, and they took it out and put Jesus. And then it was a part where they was actually talking about this Joshua, and it made no sense to people. It threw them off. Like, well, how would Jesus be in the wilderness? This don't make any sense. Well, what it is, he left the clues for people who are going to read and go from book to book, that question would pop up in their mind. How could you confuse these two and they thousands of years apart? It's one thing for me to, confuse these two brothers who's sitting here. But to confuse this brother with somebody who lived 500 years ago, now, something had to be going on for me to make that mistake. Somebody had to be trying to do something slick for me to make a mistake between this man and somebody who 500 years older. Go ahead.
Verse 2. Judges chapter 1 and verse 2. And Yahweh said, Yehudah shall go up. Behold, I have delivered the land into his hand. And Yehudah said unto Simeon his brother, Come up with me into my lot, that we may fight against the Canaanites. And I likewise will go with you into your lot. So Simeon went with him.
What we know about Simeon? So you understand why Yehuda said, hey, won't you go with me? Why? Because some of y'all like killing people. Okay, let's just go on. Hey, and I don't mean to point any fingers at any of y'all, but we come from them same tribes. So some of y'all that just have a thirst for killing sometimes. I mean, you ain't never killed nobody, but you just like, if I did, I probably would enjoy it. That you probably from one of these killing tribes. I'm just saying, everybody ain't come from Judah. Okay? So stop believing that stuff that you hearing on the internet. Everybody not from Judah. Benjamites, bunch of left-handed men that love to fight. If you got kicked out of several schools for fighting, you might be a Benjamite. That's all I'm saying. Read, bro.
Verse 4. And Yehuda went up, and Yahweh delivered the Canaanites and the Perizzites into their hand, and they slew of them in Bezek 10,000 men.
Now, even though Yahweh give you something, you still understand that you got to do something for it, right? The people don't just lay down and die because you said you Israel. Because Yahweh, your Elohim, gave you something. You still got work to do. Go ahead.
And they found Adonai Bezek in Bezek, and they fought against him, and they slew the Canaanites and the Perizzites. But Adonai Bezek fled, and they pursued after him and caught him, and cut off his thumbs and his great toes.
Your thumbs and your great toes, you'll never fight again. You'll never be able to hold a spear. You ain't never going to be able to run. They ain't never got to worry about you fighting nobody. The strongest part of your fist is pulling that thumb and holding the rest of them in. This ain't no fist. This ain't no fist here. You ain't gonna hurt nobody. You know who you gonna hurt? You. Every time you try to punch somebody and this is out here or it ain't nowhere in them fingers, you gonna get hurt. You have to form this the right way to hit somebody. So once you take these, you'll never be able to grip a sword. And without a sword, you can't fight. Go ahead.
And Adonai Bezek said, 70 kings, having their thumbs and their great toes cut off, gathered their meat under my table. As I have done, so Elohim has requited me.
Now, even the wicked man has sense enough to realize that this has happened to me because these are the things that I put forth in the earth. Now look at how many times, look at how long he was able to do it though. And Adonai Bezek said 70. That's 70. He has done this enough time to conquer 70 lands, cut off 70 sets of thumbs and 70 sets of toes. Now here come his judgment after he has done that all of that time. But this is not a righteous man. How is it that the righteous man can understand exactly why certain things are happening and we sometimes get confused as to why we're going through this or why we're going through that? Go ahead.
And they brought him to Jerusalem, and there he died.
All right, now let's go to Leviticus chapter 24. Leviticus chapter 24, and we're going to read verses 17 through 22.
Verse 17. And he that kills any man shall surely be put to death. And he that kills a beast shall make it good, beast for beast. And if a man cause a blemish in his neighbor, as he has done, so shall it be done to him. So
there are certain things that should automatically be within our thought process, as far as if there's a altercation or an issue that occurs. Go ahead.
Breach for breach, eye for eye, tooth for tooth. As he has caused a blemish in a man, so shall it be done to him again.
Now, the key difference that you're going to find here is who Yahweh then appropriates this duty to. Because some people will say because of the New Testament, you know, this thing has been taken away from us. Like we don't have to do any of the judgment. And part of that is true, but it didn't change judgment. What it did was changed who did judgment, not that judgment was done. Go ahead.
And he that kills a beast, he shall restore it. And he that killeth a man, he shall be put to death. You shall have one manner of law, as well for the stranger as for one of your own country. For I am Yahweh, your Elohim.
So when we get an opportunity to set up our governmental system, and I think that's the part that people are truly missing, that Yahshua is returning to set up a righteous governmental system. You cannot set up a government without law. So all of the people that are walking around talking about the law has been done away with, that is going to be a seriously problematic kingdom if you have anything without law. Let's go to Isaiah chapter 33.
741.
Isaiah chapter 33, and we're going to start that at verse 1.
Verse 1. Woe to you that spoileth, and you was not spoiled, and dealeth treacherously, and they dealt not treacherously with you. When you shall cease to spoil, you shall be spoiled.
Right. And this is that thing. So you see then a pause in between the dealings and when the dealings are returned. And that sometimes that pause gives us the thought process that we can continue doing whatever it is, because at this point Yahweh hasn't given just judgment to us. So it looked like we're getting away with it. But there's a pause. Because sooner or later, you're going to stop doing that thing. And sometimes Yahweh forces us our hand to get to the point where we can't do that thing, because at some point you won't be physically able to do that. See, you can crawl out of windows when you're 19. But when you get like 42, your belly start getting caught on the window handle, and you trying to get away, your shirt done snatched your back. You swear you were gone. But see, now you got to get an extra large shirt. You had an extra medium when you was 19, so you can slide right through those windows. Can't slide through those windows when there's a little bit more of you. You used to be able to jump and clear a fence. Now you got to put up a ladder and go there, the police waiting for you drinking coffee by the time you get there. Go ahead.
And when you shall make an end to deal treacherously, they shall deal treacherously with you.
Now it's going to be returned. Go ahead.
O Yahweh, be gracious unto us. We have waited for you. Be you their arm every morning, our salvation also in time of trouble.
So then you have to consider, we have waited for you. That means there's treachery going on, and they're on the bad end of it. Do we have the strength to wait? And that's $1 million question. Go ahead.
At the noise of the tumult, the people fled. At the lifting up of yourself, the nations were scattered. And your spoil shall be gathered like the gathering of the caterpillar. As the running to and fro of locusts shall he run upon them. Yahweh is exalted, for he dwelleth on high. He has filled Zion with judgment and righteousness.
Now, if you've ever seen, reading about locusts is one thing. Have you ever seen a video of locusts coming to an area? You know, when you read the things that you know, that is written about the plagues and the locusts coming in, you get a visual, but not like when you see one of these videos when there's no like light. When they come, it is so many of them that it look like they just turned off the light. They block everything. It'll get dark like a storm just came in. It's just that many of them, and they are eating and destroying everything they come in contact with. So reading about coming, and he's talking about dealing as the locusts, and until you encounter something like that, it really doesn't make any sense. But when you see locusts and the destructive nature that they have, that they will come in and the people's whole crop that year is done. They fly in, you and spent all your time planting and doing all of this stuff, and they come right in, eat everything, and go on about their business. And everything you worked for is gone. Go ahead.
Verse 6. And wisdom and knowledge shall be the stability of your times, and strength of salvation. The fear of Yahweh is his treasure. Behold, their valiant ones shall cry without. The ambassadors of peace shall weep bitterly. The highways lie waste. The wayfaring man seeth. He has broken the covenant. He has despised the cities. He regardeth no man. The earth mourns and languishes. Lebanon is ashamed and hewn down. Sharon is like a wilderness, and Bashan and Carmel shake off their fruits. Now will I rise, says Yahweh. Now will I be exalted. Now will I lift up myself. You shall conceive chaff. You shall bring forth stubble. Your breath as fire shall devour you. And the people shall be as the burnings of lime. As thorns cut up shall they be burnt in the fire. Hear, you that are far off, what have I done? And you that are near, acknowledge my might. The sinners in Zion are afraid. Fearfulness has surprised the hypocrites. Who among us shall dwell with the devouring fire? Who among us shall dwell with everlasting burnings? He that walketh righteously and speaketh uprightly, he that despises the gain of oppressions, that shaketh his hands from holding of bribes, that stoppeth his ears from hearing of blood, and shutteth his eyes from seeing evil.
Now, that doesn't mean that this man or this woman is without sin. But there's a constant trying. He that walks righteously and speaks uprightly, he that despises the gain of oppression. When you see something, when you're talking about despising the gain of oppression, when you know something is not right, you separate yourself from it. So no, I don't want gain that way. That shaketh his hand from holding of bribes. And we see bribes as one thing, but anytime we're going to get something and it gives us the opportunity to not deal with something fully, whether that is, well, I'm not going to really deal with this because this is my partner, or I'm not going to really deal with this because this is my family. You got a bribe. Go ahead.
He shall dwell on high. His place of defense shall be the munitions of rocks. Bread shall be given him, his waters shall be sure. Your eyes shall see the king in his beauty. They shall behold the land that is very far off. Your heart shall meditate terror. Where is the scribe? Where is the receiver? Where is he that counted the towers? You shall not see a fierce people, a people of a deeper speech than you cannot perceive, of a stammering tongue that you cannot understand. Look upon Zion, the city of our solemnities. Your eyes shall see Jerusalem, a quiet habitation, a tabernacle that shall not be taken down. Not one of the stakes thereof shall ever be removed, neither shall any of the cords thereof be broken. But there the glorious Yahweh will be unto us a place of broad rivers and streams, wherein shall go no galley with oars, neither shall gallant ships pass thereby. For Yahweh is our judge. Yahweh is our lawgiver. Yahweh is our king. He will save us. And
if we adhere to that, then it would keep a lot of things from coming our way. Yahweh is our judge. And if you're thinking about what thus says Yahweh and what is written in his holy and righteous law, then that starts to direct you. Instead of worrying about what some people do is wait until they get caught. Then they start dealing with things. If Yahweh is your judge, he can see everything. You think he just now found out when you did something because somebody else found out? He been knew. If Yahweh is your judge, then you start thinking when you contemplating the situation. Go ahead.
Your tacklings are loose. They could not well strengthen their mass. They could not spread the sail. Then is the prey of a great spoil divided. the lame take the prey. And the inhabitant shall not say, I am sick. The people that dwell therein shall be forgiven their lawlessness.
All right, and that's what iniquity is. It is lawlessness. Let's go to Matthew chapter 5. And these things are becoming more and more important because as we just pay attention to the things that are going on in America, I mean, it used to be a very long cry before you would hear any altercation between America and Russia. This stuff is almost happening daily. And I mean, they're starting to talk big talk against one another. And the very things that, you know, America has always tried to implement democracy in other places. Well, other countries are starting to do the same things. They're trying to implement their way of dealing in other people's country. And Russia has succeeded in putting a man that they can better manipulate in the American office. Putin has sense enough to know I'm not going to be able to manipulate Hillary. But I can manipulate that guy right there because I got some stuff on him. I want him to be president. And they do the same thing from country to country. But it's not anything different that America has not done. So they're all playing the same game, but the stakes are getting higher and higher. So we need to figure out what we're going to do as far as our salvation and taking care of us. Because we know that when things go down, we're the last ones to get seen about. Whenever hurricanes and floods and all of those things come, we know how that works. They come to our town last. You watch the documentaries about Katrina. Even the people who tried to take care of themselves, they use certain kind of words based on who it was. If a Caucasian took a boat, he commandeered it. If a brother took a boat, he looted. Automatically making us a criminal element trying to survive a flood. So we know how that's going to go. So we have to have a total different kind of protection when it comes down to this. Matthew chapter 5, and let's start that at verse 43.
Verse 43. You have heard that it has been said, you shall love your neighbor and hate your enemy. But I say unto you, love your enemies.
Now, some would say, okay, well then this is taking care of the things that we read in the Old Testament. So we don't have to worry about that. Love is taking care of all of that. Go ahead.
Bless them that curse you. Do good to them that hate you. And pray for them which despitefully use you and persecute you. That you may be the children of your Father which is in heaven. For he maketh his sun to rise on the evil and on the good, and sendeth rain on the just and on the unjust. For if you love them which love you, what reward have you? Do not even the publicans the same? And if you salute your brethren only, what do you more than others? Do not even the publicans so? Be you therefore perfect, even as your Father which is in heaven is perfect.
And we know that what we can do and seeking for perfection is give it a perfect try. We know that there's absolutely nothing within the flesh that is completely perfect. The flesh, even by nature, dies every day. It decays and new flesh is born. It is in a constant source of decay. So the flesh itself has nothing perfect. But if the flesh gives a perfect try, which is the best that you can do, it's perfection. Yahweh knows that we're not made like the angels. We're not made like the heavenly bodies. We don't have the power that they have. So with this flesh comes limitations. But have you done the best that you can do? And sometimes we lie to ourselves and tell ourselves that we have done the best that we could do. Galatians chapter 6.
12:47.
Galatians chapter 6, and we're going to read verses 1 through 10.
Galatians chapter 6 and verse 1. Brethren, if a man be overtaken in a fault, you which are spiritual, restore such an one in the spirit of meekness, considering yourself, lest you also be tempted. Bear you one another's burdens, and so fulfill the law of the Mashiach.
Now, even as we begin to read this New Testament, we're going to run into more instances of law, and it gets a little confusing if the people don't have some form of understanding of the word, because at one place it will look like it's saying that the law is completely done away with, and then in another place it's talking not only about the commandments and law, it's talking about other parts of law. So if you're learning from somebody and they really don't have the understanding of that, then that's going to get completely cloudy. See, we had dietary law, sacrificial law, and moral law. It is sacrificial law that the Mashiach fulfilled. So there's no more sacrifice for sins at this present time. But dietary law and moral law is still there. But if you don't know that and you keep reading this stuff, where certain places it's saying whoever is justified by the law has lost his faith. Well, they're dealing with sacrificial law, not moral law. It has always been wrong to steal, lie, and commit adultery. That has never changed. That was the same before Christ. That is the same after Christ. It is going to be the same when he returns. That never changed. Sacrificial law, sacrifices, is the only thing that was changed. Go ahead.
Verse 3. For if a man think himself to be something when he is nothing, he deceives himself. But let every man prove his own work, and then shall he have rejoicing in himself alone, and not in another. For every man shall bear his own burden.
Right.
Let him that is taught in the word communicate unto him that teaches in all good things. Be not deceived, Elohim is not mocked. For whatsoever a man soweth, that shall he also reap.
Be not deceived. Listen to all of these good things, but be not deceived. Whatever you put out there, it is going to return unto you. Whatsoever a man sows, that is whatever he plant, he shall also reap. That's what's going to grow. And what we know about planting and growing, it never happens in the same day. You don't plant something on Monday and it grow on Tuesday. That's not how a planting and growing works. That's also not how the deeds of man and righteous judgment work either. There's a large pause in between that. And Yahweh may allow some things because he knows, hey, this is going to help you grow. So I'm going to go ahead and let that happen. This right here is going to make you stronger. So I'm going to go ahead and let this wrong happen to you, because it's going to make you a better individual. But afterwards, I'm going to deal with the wrongdoer. Same thing he says about the children of Israel. We didn't walk the way we were supposed to walk. So he says, I'm going to let all these nations come against you. But afterwards, I'm going to take care of everybody that put their hands on you. But maybe in that time, when you get the opportunity again, you're going to walk fully in my law and not that half walk that we had before. Go ahead.
Verse 8. For he that sows to his flesh shall of the flesh reap corruption, but he that sows to the Spirit shall of the Spirit reap life everlasting. And let us not be weary in well-doing, for in due season we shall reap, if we faint not.
For in due season we shall reap if we faint not. So that's not right away. So for us to be given this little note And let us not be weary in well doing. That means you may do well for a while, but it's not acknowledged. It may not be accepted. Not right away. And sometimes what then crosses our mind is, I might as well just go and be a foul individual. And that's when Lucifer whispering in your ear then. See, he know when you start to get weary and well doing. I've been doing well and ain't nobody acknowledged. Ain't nobody. And here come Lou. Psst, psst, let me talk to you. He knew exactly when to come to Yahshua. You have to consider, this same body was on the earth for 30 years. He didn't come until he got the baptism. And then he waits until after he is fasted. And then he started talking to him about bread. Now, a bread conversation when on day one of your fast is a different conversation from day 40 of your fast. See, day 1 bread and day 39 bread is totally different kind of bread. That bread is delicious on day 39. You understand what I'm talking about? You can smell that bread and just take, whew, is that olive oil you got on there? What is that? You can start smelling the ingredients. Do you use wheat flour? What you using there? Right. You can smell all that come day 39. That don't mean nothing day 1. So Lucifer knows when. He knows when we're weak. He knows why we're weak. He knows the whole situation. Understand something. It says he knows those people. When you just consider the situation of Job, he said, man, I know him. But man, he don't fear you for nothing, man. This man got a hedge round about you. Man, I couldn't touch him if I wanted to. But I tell you what, remove that hedge. I bet I make him curse you. So it ain't like he didn't know Job. So stop thinking that them demons don't know you. Go ahead.
Verse 10. As we have therefore opportunity, let us do good unto all men, especially unto them who are of the household of faith.
Especially those who are of the household of faith. So we're supposed to have a extra little oomph in us about doing right toward one another. That don't mean that we do other people wrong. It just means that we're going to try extra hard to do right by those of the household of faith. Now, the household of faith don't necessarily mean the people who go to church with you. Because see, there are other people that are of the household of faith that you ain't never seen. So let's go ahead and throw that in the mix too, because you got a whole lot of people that believe if you don't go to church with me, you ain't gonna get your salvation. I don't know where they get that from. But then you have people that, they don't have to be nice to anybody except the people that they see right, in the congregation with them. And that's not how Yahweh deals. Let's go to Matthew chapter 18. Matthew chapter 18, and let's start at verse 15.
Moreover, if your brother shall trespass against you, go and tell him his fault between you and him alone. If he shall hear you, you have gained your brother.
What if your brother dodged you, though? What if every time you're trying to go talk to him, he take out running? Hey, my nigga! Brother, I just need to... Wait.
But if he will not hear you, then take with you 1 or 2 more.
It's hard to hear when you're going... He going down the street, you trying to talk. I didn't hear you. I know you couldn't hear me. All you heard was your pipes. Go ahead.
That in the mouth of 2 or 3 witnesses every word may be established. And if he shall neglect to hear them, tell it unto the church. But if he neglect to hear the church, let him be unto you as an heathen man and a publican.
So at some point, if you can't get any dealings with between an individual, then at some point you're going to have to bring that thing before the church. But there's an order in dealing with that you first go to the person by themselves. So y'all have had the conversation, you bring somebody else. You still can't get a resolution. Now it comes to the point of bringing it before the church. There's an order in dealing with those things. Now, depending on what part of the book you read, if you don't get the other parts that coincide with that, you'll have some people that just tell you, hey, you're just supposed to forgive and forget and move on. But this book gives us a equation on forgiveness. It says if your brother sin against you, rebuke him. If he repent, then forgive your brother. That means there's got to be some conversation going on. Go ahead.
Verily I say unto you, whatsoever you shall bind on earth shall be bound in heaven, and whatsoever you shall loose on earth shall be loosed in heaven. Again I say unto you, that if 2 of you shall agree on earth as touching anything that they shall ask, it shall be done for them of my Father which is in heaven. For where 2 or 3 are gathered together in my name, there am I in the midst of them. Then came Cephas to him and said, Adonai, how often shall my brother sin against me, and I forgive him? Till 7 times? Yahshua says unto him, I say not unto you until 7 times, but until 70 times 7. Therefore is the kingdom of heaven likened unto a certain king, which would take account of his servants. And when he had begun to reckon, one was brought unto him, which owed him 10,000 talents.
Now, I need you to listen to this carefully, because I promise you, every time you go through this stuff, something else jumps out at you. All right? So he begun, the kingdom of heaven is likened unto a certain king, which would take account of his servants. Now, we just read Yahweh is our king. We are his servants. So now, keep that in mind as we begin to read. Go ahead.
For as much as he had not to pay, his master commanded him to be sold.
All right, he owed 10,000 talents. Go ahead.
And his wife and children and all that he had, and payment to be made. The servant therefore fell down and worshipped him, saying, Adonai, have patience with me, and I'll pay you all. Then the master of that servant was moved with compassion and loosed him and forgave him the debt.
It takes compassion there. See, the straight face and continually going forward in something shows that there's a lack of compassion within us at a certain point. But when you back up to 25, it says, but for as much as he had not to pay. See, there's some that are going to use this totally different. He didn't have the money to pay. That's not the same as having the money and not paying the people. See, people will turn around and ask you for forgiveness for something that they should be taking care of. That's also not the same if you play video games till 2 o'clock and then you didn't have the money. Because you stayed up all night, played video games all day and said, oh, no, I ain't got the money to pay you. No. You didn't try. So you have to watch. Because what will happen is the adversary of the devil will try to use all your good qualities against you. He'll try to make you agree to something before he gives you all of the particulars of the event. So then you done agreed, and then they say, oh yeah, by the way, such and such. You little slick devil. See, now he's going to use your good nature. Remember now, you agreed. Remember? You had agreed. Yeah, but I agreed before you told me that little slickness right there that you was holding back. That's why you have to learn how to agree conditionally. Yeah, yeah, you know what, brother, I'm going to do that. If it is what you say it is. And check that little box right there. Yeah, check that box right there. Now, if I get down and I find out that this ain't what it is, null and void, brother. But see, I'm going to make sure we say that on day one. Not later on. We need to make sure we get that right. If this is what you say it is, I'm your man 50 grand. If it take all night, we're going to be out there all night. But if I find out that's something that you ain't told me, that changes this agreement. And it's in almost every contract you've ever signed in your life. If you ain't seen it, you just ain't read good enough. Promise you it's there. I promise it is there. Matter of fact, it's called fraud if you don't reveal all of the things. When somebody gets into an agreement, if you withheld certain things, the agreement is fraudulent. All manner of sin is evil. Go ahead.
You know, even in this situation, it says that he had not to pay, meaning he didn't have the money, but he still made a vow that he would pay him all. Before he then said, I'll forgive you the debt. He did make a vow that I will pay you all. Just be patient with me.
And you know, it's one of those things where it's a difference when someone, you know, is trying to make right on something than when people are not even attempting to make right on something. Go ahead.
Verse 28. But the same servant went out and found one of his fellow servants.
Now, he was forgiven. There was compassion given unto him. So you know what compassion looked like because he just got it. So even if he ain't have no compassion and he had never seen compassion, and compassion said, hey, how you doing? I'm compassion. I don't know you. No, you just seen compassion because it was that got you forgiven of your debt. Your turn. Go ahead.
Which owed him 100 pence.
Now, wait a minute. Now, this person owed him 100. I want you to back up to verse 24. Find out how much he owed.
10,000.
He owed 10,000.
Talents.
All right, he owed 10,000. And somebody owed him, you know, little hundo. That's all it is, little hundo spot. Okay, go ahead.
And he laid hands on him.
Oh, he laid hands on him. Now, he just had forgiveness. He just saw compassion. He just saw all that. He owed 10,000. But for hundo, he choking brothers out. Go ahead.
And took him by the throat, saying, pay me that you owe it.
Give me that lucha. Go ahead.
And his fellow servant fell down at his feet and besought him.
Oh, wait a minute. Sound familiar, don't it? Sound familiar. Go ahead.
Saying, have patience with me, and I'll pay you all. And he would not, but went and cast him into prison till he should pay the debt.
Now, he was just forgiven. But he forgot that forgiveness when it was his opportunity to forgive. Go ahead.
And not only was he forgiven, but it saved his whole family because he was commanded to be sold, his wife
children. Right. Go ahead.
So when his fellow servants saw what was done,
people always gonna run and tell. Yahweh leave a little birdie. That bird just gonna fly. Tweet, 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 tweet. Tweet, tweet. Tweet, 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 tweet. Look, I got something to tell you. Tweet, tweet. Tweet, tweet, tweet. Tweet it, tweet, tweet, tweet. So that business gonna get back. See, you might have think you did some business and ain't nobody see that business but you. But I swear Yahweh got a bird just sitting right there on that line. Do you see this? Do you see this? I can't wait to tweet this out. Tweet, tweet. Go ahead.
So when his fellow servants saw what was done, they were very sorry and came and told on to their master all that was done.
They telling, hey man, you remember that dude you had done forgave 10,000? Let us tell you what he done for hundo. Go ahead.
Then his master, after that he had called him, said unto him, oh, you wicked servant, I forgave you all that debt.
All that. See, because he knew it was higher. Okay? That was a higher amount. That means it was a greater amount of forgiveness. The higher the debt, the higher where the forgiveness is. Your forgiveness was greater that I gave unto you. You didn't even have to give the level that I gave to you. Go ahead.
Because you desired me. Should not you also have had compassion on your fellow servant, even as I had pity on you? And his master was angry, and delivered him to the tormentors, till he should pay all that was due unto him. So likewise shall my heavenly Father do also unto you, if you from your hearts forgive not every one his brother their trespasses.
So consider now, so the blessing that he was given was then taken away. He had already had this. He had already been forgiven of the debt. But because he didn't show that same compassion to somebody else, he took it back. See, sometimes we got stuff and we think we're going to have it forever. And you may turn around and do something and you always say, oh, I can't believe you did that to such and such. Give me that back. See, what's interesting, before you go there, I want you to look at this graphic here. Y'all ever heard, see, them nature channels, man, they got me. Y'all ever heard of the dung beetle? And it's a big beetle, and all he put the doo-doo in a ball, right? And he just pushed the doo. If you look at this graphic, the unforgiveness is this doo-doo ball that he just keep pushing up this hill. And they'll fight over the little ball of doo-doo. They'll do everything. The dung beetle, the most important thing in his life is the dung, which is crap. Okay? So when you are dealing with this, you have to understand that you are constantly rolling a ball of crap. Up a hill, down a hill, fighting for it. And at the end of the day, it ain't nothing. It just seems like it's something. Now, it's funny how Yahweh deals with situations, because I ended up having a situation like this happen to me this week. A brother that I ended up having an altercation with, that we used to work together a couple years back. Hadn't heard from the brother in several years. Brother called me out of nowhere, and he didn't ask for a favor. He didn't ask for 2 favors. He didn't ask for 3 favors. He called me. I ain't talked to him in over 3 years. He asked for 5 favors. I just let the phone call go because I want to see how many times he gonna keep asking. I was like, wow, you asked for 5? Who don't talk to somebody in over 3 years and no acknowledgement of the altercation? No, you know what? I apologize for, you know, what we got into. No, nothing. I need 5 favors right away. I said, wow, this is an interesting call. Tell me more. Keep it. Is that all? Is there anything else? So before I do, and Yahweh has given me patience, because I didn't have any patience before the word whatsoever. I mean, I had less than none. Okay, so exercising the patience that Yahweh has now given me. You know what, brother? I'm not going to answer that question. Let me do a little research on a few things before I answer that. Some said, call a mutual friend. Somebody else I hadn't talked to in about 2.5 years. I called a mutual friend. Yahweh says have diligent inquiry. Called a mutual friend. Say, have you had I got a call from such and such. I just asked a question. Have you had a run-in with them? He said, it's very interesting that you called, because I just had a run-in with them last week. Say, you playing, right? Then he tells me the conversation. And it was like the other part of this, where the person cussed them out, asked them why they was on their job site. I said, oh. So he didn't offer you any of the forgiveness that he's asking for from me. Interesting. Very interesting. Let's go to Revelation chapter 16. See, sometimes Yahweh pick what he want to be read on his Sabbath day. I find out about it later. Revelation chapter 16, and let's start that at verse 1.
Verse 1. And I heard a great voice out of the temple saying to the 7 angels, go your ways and pour out the vials of the wrath of Elohim upon the earth.
Now, there's a reason why you don't hear anything about vials of wrath and destruction, the trumpets. You're not going to hear those things in Sunday church because they have to tell you the lie that God is not angry. They have to tell you that there is no judgment. They have to give you the pie in the sky lie that you just gonna float up. Everybody dies, zip chain, go to heaven, everything gonna work out. The last thing you need to hear is some of this stuff. Because at some point when you start reading this, if you have not been blinded by the pie in the sky lie, then you're going to start asking some questions, which is going to interfere with some people's money train. If you start asking questions. Go ahead.
And the first went and poured out his vial upon the earth, and there fell a noisome and grievous sore upon the men which had the mark of the beast, and upon them which worshipped his image. And the second angel poured out his vial upon the sea, and it became as the blood of a dead man, and every living soul died in the sea.
And when you start looking at some of the things that have come upon the earth because of man and his money-making schemes, they have truly, truly torn up some of the things of the earth trying to get money. When you look at what some of them oil tankers, when they spill all of that oil, the amount of destruction that it causes is just, it is massive. All because they're trying to get as much money as they can. And they end up pushing past and doing some things that they should not do. They'll frack in an area to get oil, and they know that it causes everything around it to be unstable. It will completely demolish that whole area in a little bit of time. They know it, but because they make some money, they're going to keep doing it. Go ahead.
And the third angel poured out his vial upon the rivers and fountains of waters, and they became blood. And I heard the angel of the waters say, You are righteous, O Adonai, which art and was and shall be, because you have judged thus. For they have shed the blood of saints and prophets, and you have given them blood to drink, for you are worthy. And I heard another out of the altar say, Even so, Adonai Elohim Almighty, true and righteous are your judgments. And the fourth angel poured out his vial upon the sun, and power was given unto him to scorch men with fire.
Right. The inhabitants of the earth worship the sun, so Yahweh gonna give you that sun. That's what you want to worship? Here you go. And when you find out and do any research, you find out that most of the stuff that they have, especially in Christianity, is sun worship. They finna do Easter sunrise service. People have no idea that they worship in the sun. S-U-N. They think they worship in the sun, S-O-N. That's a different kind of sun. But the people who are orchestrating it know exactly what they're doing. They're not telling everybody else. Go ahead.
And men were scorched with great heat, and blasphemed the name of Elohim, which has power over these plagues, and they repented not to give him glory.
That is the most important part of that whole verse and chapter. No matter how much they were scorched with heat, they still won't repent. No matter how much judgment comes to them, no matter how many problems come to them, they are not going to repent. Go ahead.
And the fifth angel poured out his vial upon the seat of the beast, and his kingdom was full of darkness, and they gnawed their tongues for pain, and blasphemed the Elohim of heaven because of their pains and their sorrows, and repented not of their deeds.
Right. So they're going to blaspheme. So it's easier for them to let blasphemy come out of their mouth against Elohim than for them to repent. Go ahead.
And the sixth angel poured out his vial upon the great river Euphrates, and the water thereof was dried up, that the way of the kings of the east might be prepared. And I saw 3 unclean spirits like frogs come up out of the mouth of the dragon, and out of the mouth of the beast, and out of the mouth of the false prophet. For they are the spirits of devils, working miracles, which go forth unto the kings of the earth and of the whole world, to gather them to the battle of that great day of Elohim Almighty.
So in other words, Yahweh is making sure that they have all that they need to deceive these people to come up and die. Go ahead.
Behold, I come as a thief. Blessed is he that watches and keeps his garments, lest he walk naked and they see his shame. And he gathered them together into a place called in the Hebrew tongue Armageddon. And the seventh angel poured out his vial into the air, and there came a great voice out of the temple of heaven from the throne, saying, It is done.
Okay, so then there's something that you have to, consider if you've not considered it before. The great voice came out of the temple of heaven. So when we get to that point where people have given us all of these other things to take part in, they've given us all of these other so-called holidays, you have to ask yourself, did the temple in heaven change according to what they did? Did they change the day that they would worship? Did they change how they would worship? Understand, the things that we were given are in a mirror image of the things that were presented in heaven. So did he change his seat? Did he change the holy days? Did he change those things because man changed it here on earth? Because Moshe was told, make sure you do everything strictly according to the example, the pattern that was showed you in the mount. Yet we can drive down the street and we're going to run into 7, 8 churches and they all built the same. 3 pyramid, three triangles in the front and a phallic symbol. Yet we cannot find that building plan nowhere in this book from Genesis to Revelation. So how every organization had the same building plan, but we can't find the building plan. So who gave them that building plan? Go ahead.
Revelation chapter 16 and verse 18. And there were voices and thunders and lightnings, and there was a great earthquake, such as was not since men were upon the earth. So mighty an earthquake and so great. And the great city was divided into 3 parts, and the cities of the nations fell. And great Babylon came in remembrance before Elohim to give unto her the cup of the wine of the fierceness of his anger.
Right, but this takes time before this righteous judgment is then rendered. Go ahead.
And every island fled away, and the mountains were not found. And there fell upon men a great hail out of heaven, every stone about the weight of a talent. And men blasphemed Elohim because of the plague of the hail, for the plague thereof was exceeding great.
And one thing you learn about the men of the earth, they will quickly blaspheme the name of Yahweh our Elohim when punishment comes, but somehow still never fix their lips to repent. Let's go to Ecclesiastes chapter 8 and see when we deal with the daughter of Babylon, we have to consider. In Revelation 13 and 10, it says, he that leads into captivity shall go into captivity, and he that kills with the sword shall be killed by the sword. Here is the patience and the faith of the saints. So you have some that don't want to deal with that. So they believe if they just run away from the word and don't hear any of it, it's going to take away that judgment upon the daughter of Babylon. But if people want to separate themselves from the judgment of the daughter of Babylon, they're going to have to make a move. They're going to have to make some decisions, and a lot of people are. Ecclesiastes chapter 8, and we're going to start at verse 1.
Who is as the wise man, and who knows the interpretation of a thing? A man's wisdom makes his face to shine, and the boldness of his face shall be changed. I counsel you to keep the king's commandment, and that in regard of the oath of Elohim. Be not hasty to go out of his sight. Stand not in an evil thing, for he does whatsoever pleases him. Where the word of a king is, there is power. And who may say unto him, What does you? Whoso keeps the commandment shall feel no evil thing, and a wise man's heart discerneth both time and judgment. Because to every purpose there is time and judgment. Therefore the misery of man is great upon him. For he knows not that which shall be, or who can tell him when it shall be? There is no man that has power over the Spirit to retain the Spirit.
The Spirit will come upon us to allow us to do a certain deed, and after that, the Spirit going back where it came from. It ain't gonna hang around with us, because we're gonna do something that's gonna run away the Spirit anyway. No man has the power to retain the Spirit. And people think they walk home with the Spirit. They think the Spirit just hang out and watch the game with them. They put out an extra bill this for the Spirit right here. No, that's not how that's happening. Spirit gonna do whatever they got to do, use you to do that, and after that it's gone. The Spirit didn't ride the motorcycle with me, and we all just in a group. No, Spirit gonna do what it got to do, and it's out. Because if it hang around too long, it's gonna have to kill you. That was the whole reason he separated the tabernacle from the children of Israel. The tabernacle was right among us. He said, man, if I leave this here, I'm gonna have to kill y'all. Here, move this over here. Okay? Then when you get yourself together, then come out and seek me. We don't see the tabernacle dwelling among men until we get back to Revelation. Now we got to get all the way to the end of the book before we get the tabernacle where it was in the beginning. And that don't have nothing to do with him. That's got something to do with us. We're not ready to have the tabernacle right beside us. Go ahead.
Neither has he power in the day of death. And there is no discharge in that war. Neither shall wickedness deliver those that are given to it. All this have I seen, and applied my heart unto every work that is done under the sun. There is a time wherein one man rules over another to his own hurt. And so I saw the wicked buried, who had come and gone from the place of the holy, and they were forgotten in the city where they had so done. This also is vanity. Because sentence against an evil work is not executed speedily, therefore the heart of the sons of men is fully set in them to do evil.
Right. They don't see any judgment right away. They don't receive any punishment right away. So now they're getting emboldened. Let's do it again. Let's continue this thought process. Yahweh didn't see us. He must have been sleepy. He didn't see that stuff we did late in the midnight hour. He didn't see us. Okay. Go ahead.
Though a sinner do evil 100 times, and his days be prolonged, yet surely I know that it shall be well with them that fear Elohim, which fear before him. But it shall not be well with the wicked, neither shall he prolong his days, which are as a shadow, because he fears not before Elohim.
And consider, he has a greater judgment to pay. Because judgment was not executed swiftly, he kept adding more things to that pot. Well, I ain't got caught. Let's do it again. I didn't get caught. Let's do it again. So now when judgment comes, you got this big old pot full of stuff. Whereas the people who got dealt with immediately, they ain't got but one or two things in their little pot. Totally different pot. Go ahead.
There is a vanity which is done upon the earth, that there be just men, unto whom it happens according to the work of the wicked. Again, there be wicked men, to whom it happens according to the work of the righteous. I said that this also is vanity. Then I commanded mirth, because a man has no better thing under the sun than to eat and to drink and to be merry, for that shall abide with him of his labor the days of his life, which Elohim gives him under the sun. When I applied mine heart to know wisdom, and to see the business that is done upon the earth, for also there is that neither day nor night seeth sleep with his eyes, then I beheld all the work of Elohim, that a man cannot find out the work that is done under the sun, because though a man labor to seek it out, yet he shall not find it. Yea, further, though a wise man think to know it, yet shall he not be able to find it.
All right, let's go to Isaiah chapter 42. Isaiah chapter 42, and let's start that at verse 13.
Yahweh shall go forth as a mighty man. He shall stir up jealousy like a man of war. He shall cry, yea, roar. He shall prevail against his enemies. I have long time holden my peace. I have been still. I refrained myself. Now will I cry like a travailing woman.
I have long time holding my peace. And because Yahweh then holds his peace, it ends up causing an issue. Go ahead.
I will destroy and devour at once. I will make waste mountains and hills, and dry up all their herbs, and I will make the rivers islands, and I'll dry up the pools. And I'll bring the blind by a way that they knew not. I will lead them in paths that they have not known. I will make darkness light before them, and crooked things straight. These things will I do unto them, and not forsake them. They shall be turned back. They shall be greatly ashamed, that trust in graven images, that say to the molten images, you are our gods. Hear, you deaf, and look, you blind, that you may see. Who is blind but my servant, or deaf as my messenger that I sent? Who is blind as he that is perfect, and blind as Yahweh's servant? Seeing many things, but you observe not. Opening the ears, but you hear not. Yahweh is well pleased for his righteousness' sake. He will magnify the law and make it honorable.
He will magnify the law and make it honorable, and that is what Yahshua did. And making that law and taking that law to a whole nother level, he magnified that law and made it honorable. But you have people that still believe that there is no law whatsoever, and they're not going to be able to walk in a righteous governmental system. They think they are, but they won't be able to. Go ahead.
But this is a people robbed and spoiled. They are all of them snared in holes, and they are hid in prison houses.
Right, and if you open up them prison houses, we know who we're going to see there the most. They even set up their law that made a loophole that they can continue slavery as long as we are made prisoners. And that loophole was there from day one. And they have been operating in that loophole ever since that time. Saying, we'll slavery is over, except if they do something worthy of getting locked up. And we know what's so-called worthy of getting locked up, it changes depending on what side of town you live on. Go ahead.
And they are for a prey, and none delivers, for a spoil, and none says, restore. Who among you will give ear to this? Who will hearken and hear for the time to come? Who gave Jacob for a spoil, and Israel to the robbers? Did not Yahweh, he against whom we have sinned? For they would not walk in his ways, neither were they obedient unto his law.
Right. Who gave Jacob for a spoil and Israel to the robbers? So when we consider all of the things that we have encountered, understand, instead of trying to look at the particular people of that nation and blame them, we got to deal with us and Yahweh. That's how we got in our situation. Because you can go from country to country and we're going through the same things. Go ahead.
Therefore he has poured upon him the fury of his anger and the strength of battle, and it has set him on fire round about. Yet he knew not, and it burned him, yet he laid it not to heart.
All right, let's go to Amos chapter 4, and I think the somehow a graphic got missed in going in there. This is, you're already on the right graphic. We have to consider when we look at some of these things in Israel's refusal to see. Remember what is written in Psalm 18 and verse 26. It says, with the pure you will show yourself pure, and with the forward you will show yourself forward. So they are going to see what they present. Yahweh will then present himself as a mirror. So the people who come up in wickedness, they're going to think the vision of Yahweh is just as wicked as they are. The people who deal in slickness, they're going to see a slick Yahweh. Everything they bring, that's what they're going to run into. That's what makes men believe that they're in the right thing. When you look at all of these situations, you kind of wonder, you know, why would people even follow a lot of this wrong stuff for so long? But we're going to get into that. Amos chapter 4. What page?
936.
Appreciate that. And we're going to read verses 1 through 13.
Verse 1. Hear this word, you kind of Bashan, that are in the mountain of Samaria, which oppress the poor, which crush the needy, which say to their masters, bring, and let us drink. The Adonai Yahweh has sworn by his holiness that, lo, the days shall come upon you, that he will take you away with hooks, and your posterity with fish hooks. And you shall go out at the breaches, every cow that which is before her, and you shall cast him into the palace. And saith Yahweh, come to Bethel and transgress. At Gilgal multiply transgression, and bring your sacrifices every morning, and your tithes after 3 years. 936.
Okay, good.
And offer a sacrifice of thanksgiving with leaven, and proclaim and publish the free offerings. For this liketh you, O you children of Israel, says the Adonai Yah. And I also have given you cleanness of teeth in all your cities, and want of bread in all your places. Yet have you not returned unto me, says Yahweh.
Mm-hmm.
And also I have withholden the rain from you, when there were yet 3 months to the harvest. And I caused it to rain upon one city, and caused it not to rain upon another city. One piece was rained upon, and the piece whereupon it rained not withered. So 2 or 3 cities wandered unto one city to drink water, but they were not satisfied. Yet have you not returned unto me, says Yahweh. I have smitten you with blasting and mildew. When your gardens and your vineyards and your fig trees and your olive trees increase, the palmer worm devoured them. Yet have you not returned unto me, says Yahweh. I have sent among you the pestilence after the manner of Egypt. Your young men have I slain with the sword, and have taken away your horses. And I have made the stink of your camps to come up onto your nostrils. Yet have you not returned unto me, says Yahweh. I have overthrown some of you, as Elohim overthrew Sodom and Gomorrah. And you were as a firebrand plucked out of the burning. Yet have you not returned unto me, says Yahweh.
And returning unto Yahweh is returning unto his ways, returning unto the things that he has given unto us for us to walk in. So we can come and say that we show up every now and then, we keep a Sabbath, but that don't mean that we're returned unto him. Go ahead.
Therefore thus will I do unto you, O Israel, and because I will do this unto you, prepare to meet Elohim, O Israel. Prepare to meet your Elohim, O Israel. For, lo, he that forms the mountains, and createth the wind, and declareth unto man what is his thought, that maketh the morning darkness, and treadeth upon the high places of the earth, Yahweh, the Elohim of hosts, is his name.
Now, when we look at this graphic here, and it has the nation of Israel, and when you consider that a part where we read the stink of your camps, because of certain things that go on in some of those camps, it has caused a lot of brothers and sisters to speak against any kind of organized worship amongst Israel. And it is really a shame that we are ready to throw out the baby with the bathwater. We ready to do away with all of those things. And it's funny because people don't act that way when it comes down to carnal things that they benefit from. I mean, it's robberies in banks. It's all kind of things in banks. But I tell you what, when they get their check, they standing right there at that bank. Hey, I need to cash this right here. Thank you. Wait a minute. I thought you told me that was a wicked institution. It is. But I need my money. Right. Right. And it is absolutely amazing how we can do that. But you listen to so many of our people, and they are, just anti any organized form of worship. and they think we just gonna appear into the kingdom. We ain't gonna have to go through nothing. We just gonna click our heels 3 times and say there's no place like Israel, and we're gonna wake up in front of a temple. Now we ain't gonna have to build that temple. We ain't not gonna have to do nothing. We just gonna click those heels like Dorothy, and we just gonna appear there. I don't know what book they read, because that's not what he talking about. So part of the things that we're gonna have to read is when you go to this next graphic. A sister ended up sending this information to us. This picture here is a picture of Joy, where it says Joy Morgan, a sister. Well, I don't think that's her name when I looked at it. It was, well, this sister, I don't know if that's, is that her name there? Okay, was murdered, and they say by an IUIC member in the UK. The thing where this gets, you know, really interesting, they said the last place she was seen was at church. And this is causing a whole lot of other people to then say, hey, you shouldn't be in any church. You shouldn't be in anything. So here come Lucifer when something happened that now everybody is a part of this thing. So the thing says, and this is a newspaper thing. This comes from The Guardian here. It says a man has been charged with murder in connection with the disappearance of the Hertfordshire University student Joy Morgan. Then they mentioned this guy. That's the name. I ain't gonna even try to say that name. They said his name, 40 years old, from London, will appear at Hatfield Remand Court on Thursday. Morgan said, who would have turned 21 this month, was last seen in East London on Boxing Day at celebration at her church. So the last place she was seen was at church, and they got somebody. And part of this whole thing about you know, these people going from place to place, they are setting up places everywhere, and there's no way for somebody to really watch all of those places when you're just, you know, interested in setting up an organization in every place. And a lot of times people call us, do you have an organization in this town? No. I got enough responsibility taking care of what's happening here. So then when you go out in all of these places, you have then put your name on all of these things. And this is going to fall into something else, because if we go to the next graphic, there is a documentary that's supposed to be coming out about the nation of Yahweh ben Yahweh and his Yahwehs. See, this is a bunch of confusion already, you know. My elder would always call him YBY. Because my elder said, I ain't calling no man Yahweh. You can't be Yahweh. Ben is son of. So if you Yahweh, so his name means Yahweh, son of Yahweh. Okay, that's what Yahweh ben Yahweh mean. So you Yahweh, son of Yahweh. So he birthed himself. You know what I'm saying? I thought about myself and I birthed myself. I said, let there be Yahweh, and there I was. You know, so this don't make no sense. Even, you know, it don't make no sense at all. Now this is airing on Sunday, March 10th on the Oxygen Network. All right, it says in 1992, Yahweh ben Yahweh, his real name was Hulon Mitchell, was convicted of conspiracy to commit murder. Now, so you need to see how these things are going to be put together to come at all of us. This is not just going to be at these individuals, because, you know, they have a real issue with dealing with that. Whenever a Christian does something, all Christians don't have to answer for it. But you better believe that somebody gonna come to you and appropriate these things unto whatever it is you believe in. It says conspiracy to commit murder and sentenced to 18 years in prison. He was released after serving 11 years. Mitchell died of prostate cancer in 2007. And there's still many people that are still in the YBY movement. You'll be on the internet and they'll be sending things to you. And you might think that they talking about Yahweh, our Elohim, and they talking about that dude. He talking about Yahweh coming back. It's like, what are you talking about Yahweh? Oh, you mean you talking about your leader? Oh no, we got a difference of opinion here. See, it's a strange thing. Well, you know, my elder said there's a problem anyway. He was like, how your God have glasses? Wait a minute now. Moshe didn't even need glasses. He was 120 years old. How your God need glasses? Your God can't see right. You know what? I done blessed the wrong dude. I meant to bless. Man. Let's go to Isaiah chapter 30. I ain't got no problem with me needing glasses. But if I see my God and he got on glasses, we got to talk. We got to talk. We got to talk. We got to talk.
7:38.
Yeah. We going to have to powwow. See, I pictured a lot of things, but I sure didn't picture you with no glasses on. I did not picture that one. We're going to definitely have to talk. Isaiah chapter 30, and we're going to start that at verse 8.
Now go, write it before them in a table, and note it in a book, that it may be for the time to come forever and ever. That this is a rebellious people, lying children, children that will not hear the law of Yahweh.
Now understand, we had a part in our law that every 7 years we got together and the law was read before all of us. So when it says that, you know, these are rebellious children, lying children who will not hear the law. Understand, this is something that it was customary for us to do. So by the time a child gets of age, you're talking about a man, 21 years old, he has then heard this law in its entirety, regardless of all the other things that has happened within his life. He has heard what thus says Yahweh in its entirety, at least 2 occasions. So when it comes down to how that man is going to order his house, why are you confused? He said every 7 years you get together and everybody, you stand up to read it before all the children of Israel. So we can't turn around and say, well, I didn't know that. You mean that was illegal? I did not know that. No, you know it. You just made a decision. Go ahead.
Which say to the seers, see not, and to the prophets, prophesy not unto us right things.
Right. Very good. Prophesy not unto us right things. Now, if you're going to be the master prophet and tell us that we're going to own a business and we're going to be a cajillionaire, now we'll pay you for that. Give me one of those prophecies and I'll make sure you get paid very well. But don't prophesy no, righteous judgment and stuff like that. We don't want to hear that. We run them people out of town. But when the fake prophets come, we go pay to see them people. They get to set up shop in auditoriums. And we run to go and hear them prophet lies. Go ahead.
Speak unto us smooth things.
Mm-hmm.
Prophesy deceits.
Mm-hmm.
Get you out of the way. Turn aside out of the path. Cause the Holy One of Israel to cease from before us. Wherefore thus says the Holy One of Israel, because you despise this word, and trust in oppression and perverseness, and stay thereon, therefore this lawlessness shall be to you as a breach ready to fall, swelling out in a high wall, whose breaking cometh suddenly at an instant. And he shall break it as the breaking of the potter's vessel that is broken in pieces. He shall not spare, so that there shall not be found in the bursting of it a sherd to take fire from the earth, or to take water withal out of the pit. For thus said the Adonai Yah, the Holy One of Israel, in returning and rest shall you be saved, in quietness and in confidence shall be your strength.
In quietness and confidence shall be your strength. The exact things that sound like it's the opposite of strength. See, people think they got strength when they huffing and puffing, beating on their chest and making a lot of noise. They said, be quiet, be still. That's where your strength at. Why? Because then he get to take care of the business. You keep walking, you keep talking, now you're taking care of the business. And I know it's hard. Because we're accustomed to being in control of everything. Go ahead.
And you would not. But you said, no, for we will flee upon horses, therefore shall you flee. And we will ride upon the swift, therefore shall they that pursue you be swift.
Right. The faster you run, the faster he gonna let the enemy that's chasing you run. You get you a car with 300 horsepower, he gonna get him a car with 320 horsepower. Go ahead.
1,000 shall flee at the rebuke of one. At the rebuke of 5 shall you flee, till you be left as a beacon upon the top of a mountain, and as an ensign on an hill. And therefore will Yahweh wait, that he may be gracious unto you, and therefore will he be exalted, that he may have mercy upon you. For Yahweh is a Elohim of judgment. Blessed are all they that wait for him.
Right. He is the Elohim of judgment, but he wants to show mercy unto Israel. But Israel has to put herself in a place where she can receive mercy. You don't just continue to do whatever it is you do and believe that you are due his mercy. But don't get it twisted. He wants to show us mercy. Go ahead.
For the people shall dwell in Zion at Jerusalem. You shall weep no more. He will be very gracious unto you at the voice of your cry. When he shall hear it, he will answer you.
When he shall hear it, he will answer you. Now, to some people that's confused, they wait a minute, I've been crying for years. Yeah, he ain't heard you. Why? That's the part we don't want to ask. Because you got to ask that question to you. See? It says the incense carry the prayers of the saints unto Yahweh, Yahweh Elohim. I tell people all the time, you might want to look in your attic, see how many prayers laying around in there, because they ain't went nowhere. They right over there with your old shorts and your old tank tops. They right over there. That means it's something in our heart that's causing them prayers not to go where they supposed to go. So you keep thinking you waiting on him to answer your prayer. He ain't heard your prayer. Go ahead.
And though the Adonai give you the bread of adversity and the water of affliction, yet shall not your teachers be removed into a corner any more, but your eyes shall see your teachers. And your ears shall hear a word behind you, saying, this is the way. Walk you in it, when you turn to the right hand and when you turn to the left.
Well, consider, in the beginning, we had a cloud and a fire that moved. We didn't have to guess where the Spirit was. We didn't have to guess which direction the Spirit was going. We saw it move. Hey, time to pack up. You see the cloud moving, don't you? We have to consider, because of what people say and do today, this is what throws us off. People say, oh, this person here caught the Holy Ghost. Oh, they got the Spirit. You know how difficult that was to tell that lie back in the Old Testament? And they looking at that cloud. If somebody would have told that lie, oh, I got the Spirit. Oh, yeah, well, why is it still right now then? Do something miraculous. Let us see you do something. Because we still looking at it and it ain't moved. But all somebody got to do today is dance and take off running down the aisle, and we swear they got the Spirit. And next week, they doing all the same stuff that they were doing the week before that. So the Spirit came, jumped in your body, but it didn't tell you nothing. It didn't change nothing. You're still doing the same stuff he was doing before. Go ahead.
Verse 22, you shall defile also the covering of your graven images of silver, and the ornament of your molten images of gold. You shall cast them away as a menstruous cloth. You shall say unto it, get you hence. Then shall he give the rain of your seed, that you shall sow the ground withal, and bread of the increase of the earth. And it shall be fat and plenteous. In that day shall your cattle feed in large pastures. The oxen likewise and the young asses that air the ground shall eat clean provender, which has been winnowed with the shovel and with the fan. And there shall be upon every high mountain and upon every high hill rivers and streams of waters in the day of the great slaughter, when the towers fall. Moreover, the light of the moon shall be as the light of the sun, and the light of the sun shall be sevenfold, as the light of 7 days.
So you see, Yahweh is making this point because you see this in several places, that he's going to make that sun hot enough to scorch men, because men has this problem of worshiping the sun. This is devil worship in its fullness. And our people have been tricked into doing so. The people who are leading them into this, they know what they're worshiping. But there's Israel that's caught up in this, and they have no idea that they're worshiping the adversary of the devil. They don't know that. Their leaders do, though. Go ahead.
In the day that Yahweh binds up the breach of his people and heals the stroke of their wound. Behold, the name of Yahweh comes from far, burning with his anger, and the burden thereof is heavy. His lips are full of indignation, and his tongue as a devouring fire. And his breath as an overflowing stream shall reach to the midst of the neck, to sift the nations with the sieve of vanity. And there shall be a bridle in the jaws of the people, causing them to err. A bridle in the jaws of the people. This is like being directed just like a horse. It is going to be a bridle in their jaws, directing them to sin. And they wouldn't be able to stop if they wanted to. It's the same point when you get down to the judgment of Pharaoh. Yahweh could have just, with one stroke, released the children of Israel and done away with Pharaoh. He said, no. I'm finna make an example out of you. I'm finna stretch this thing out into 10 plagues. And every time you try to repent, I'm gonna harden your heart so you can't repent. So you have to consider, some people think that they're not repenting because they tough. No. Yahweh is about to make an example out of some of them. He said, no, I'm not gonna let you repent, because I'm gonna stretch your judgment out. I'm going to stretch these plagues out. And think about it. Several times Pharaoh tried to repent. All right, just go. 3 hours later, y'all get back in here. Y'all ain't going nowhere. Wait a minute, man. You just said go. Right. Yahweh like, no, I ain't done. I got some more wonderful plagues I want to show. Because, see, I want to make sure the whole earth talk about this. When I get through whooping you, the whole earth gonna talk about, did you see what he did to Pharaoh? Right. So he won't let him repent. Consider all of the things that the daughter of Babylon has done unto us. You think if she repent right now, Yahweh gonna reverse everything and say, all right, everything is everything? No. You done wrong for too long. No, I'm going to have to stretch out your punishment, and I'm going to have to make sure everybody see. Did you finish that, bro? Yes.
All right. Let us hear the conclusion of this matter. Let's go to Psalms chapter 109.
$654. Psalms 109 and verse 1. Hold not your peace, O Elohim of my praise. For the mouth of the wicked and the mouth of the deceitful are opened up against me. They have spoken against me with a lying tongue.
Right. And the way things happen here in the daughter of Babylon, the deceitful have the news at their fingertips. So they can show us to be whatever kind of people they want to show us to be. A situation happened, an intelligent brother walk up and say, I know what happened. They're like, no, I don't want to talk to you. They find the brother with a do-rag on his head. They can't speak English at all. They're the ones they're going to interview. So they can give the thought process that this is what all these people are. They are somebody for you to be frightened of. They're somebody for you to hate. All you have to do is pay attention to the news and how many times they zoom in on our pictures. Watch when other people do stuff. Watch how fast the zoom is. It never zooms long enough for their face to cover up the whole TV screen. That is telling the nations to hate you without saying, hate you. They are automatically in their head developing a thing that you are somebody to feel threatened of. And this happens on regular television every day. Yet we have all of these so-called stars and nobody will address it. I heard one comedian say something about it. One. And I never seen him on TV again. And maybe that's why the rest of them will not touch that subject. That was his first and last time on television when he addressed that. Go ahead.
Verse 3. They compassed me about also with words of hatred and fought against me without a cause. For my love, they are my adversaries. But I give myself unto prayer. And they have rewarded me evil for good and hatred for my love. Set you a wicked man over him and let Satan stand at his right hand.
Right. America deserves to have Donald Trump. People got upset. You know what I'm saying? That Hillary didn't win. She just as wicked as he is. She's just a different kind of wickedness. But they deserve to have this dude. He is obnoxious, self-centered. He's perfect for America. He's perfect. So everybody else can see the rest of what really happens on the inside. See, what they want to do is at least present a certain face while they still do evil. Donald Trump lacks that ability. He's doing just as much as evil as everybody else. He just doesn't know how to hide it. He has been a billionaire for so long, he has not had to hide anything. Business owners don't have to hide their evil. They're in charge of their own business. They walk in, they say, look, I'm going to do evil today. Everybody's like, congratulations, boss. Congratulations. Nobody say nothing to the boss when he get ready to do nothing evil. He's the boss. So he doesn't know how to shift that and make it look. He's not accustomed to doing that. Other politicians, this is what they grow up in. They grow up in having more than one face. They're accustomed to knowing, oh, I got to pull out the third face today. He doesn't know that. They deserve to have him. Go ahead.
When he shall be judged, let him be condemned. Let his prayer become sin. Let his days be few, and let another take his office. Let his children be fatherless, and his wife a widow.
All of the things that other nations, other nationalities have had to deal with because of her. Go ahead.
Let his children be continually vagabonds and beg. Let them seek their bread also out of their desolate places.
All the things that other countries have had to deal with. When they issue sanctions on those other countries, they can't even sell their own goods. They produce things in their country and they get ready to sell it to other nations, and the nations say, oh no, we can't buy this from you. Why? Because America don't like you. So we can't buy your goods. It was one report that I was looking at saying that, who was that? I think Maduro is saying he's going to change the oil center of where it was in Europe. He said, I'm going to move that to Russia. Ooh, it's about to get interesting. Go ahead.
Let the extortioner catch all that he has, and let the stranger spoil his labor. Let there be none to extend mercy unto him, neither let there be any to favor his fatherless children. Let his posterity be cut off, and in the generation following, let their name be blotted out. Let the lawlessness of his fathers be remembered with Yahweh, and let not the sin of his mother be blotted out. Let them be before Yahweh continually, that he may cut off the memory of them from the earth. Because that he remembers not to show mercy.
Because he remembered not to show mercy. He didn't remember mercy. Go ahead.
But persecuted the poor and needy man, that he might even slay the broken in heart. As he loved cursing, so let it come on to him.
Right. All of the stuff that you done planted. Now it's your turn. Go ahead.
As he delighted not in blessing, so let it be far from him.
Right. Don't let a blessing come to him. Go ahead.
As he clothed himself with cursing like as with his garment, so let it come into his bowels like water, and like oil into his bones. Let it be unto him as the garment which covers him, and for a girdle wherewith he is girded continually. Let this be the reward of mine adversaries from Yahweh, and of them that speak evil against my soul. What do you for me, O Elohim, the Adonai, for your name's sake? Because your mercy is good, deliver you me. Verse 21. But do you for me, O Yahweh, Elohim, for your name's sake? Because your mercy is good, deliver you me. For I am poor and needy, and my heart is wounded within me. I am gone like the shadow when it declineth. I am tossed up and down as the locust. My knees are weak through fasting, and my flesh faileth of fatness. I became also a reproach unto them. When they looked upon me, they shake their heads.
Right. You should be, see, I've had the opportunity to be in the houses of other nations when the news come on. And they try to hold the shaking of their head, because then they realize that I'm still in the room. But it's too late. I done saw you now. So you don't get to see this. That's how the other nations look at the news and how they see you, and they're developing their thought process. Go ahead.
Help me, O Yahweh my Elohim. O save me according to your mercy, that they may know that this is your hand, that you, Yahweh, has done it. Let them curse, but bless you. When they arise, let them be ashamed, but let your servant rejoice. Let mine adversaries be clothed with shame, and let them cover themselves with their own confusion as with a mantle. I will greatly praise Yahweh with my mouth. Yes, I will praise him among the multitude. For he shall stand at the right hand of the poor, to save him from those that condemned his soul.
All right. So let us consider these things, because we are getting closer and closer to the redemption of the children of Israel. But for that to happen, some other things have to fall. Some judgment has to come in other areas. And eventually these things are going to be uncomfortable for us. Matter of fact, the things are going to get worse before they get better. And we have to understand that it's for the betterment of the whole nation, not for us individually as people, as our own man, but for us as a nation. That is what this whole thing is about. That's all that we're going to do for today. Remember the Sabbath to keep it holy. Shabbat shalom.
Shabbat shalom.